Hello my YouTube world. If you remember last week I mentioned that I did 2 locations in one trip. So this video is like part 2 of that trip out into Long Island. We are visiting Sands Point Preserve, which is about 23 miles away from Manhattan. And check this out. Completed in 1902, this medieval looking castle. Well, I'm not just saying it, the design is really based on a medieval European castle. In fact, if you did not know that this is somewhere in New York and I just began showing you this structure, many of you would probably guess that I am somewhere in Europe. This is a location of many movies and shows, and in fact, when I arrived that day, as you see, they were filming a movie, maybe a TV show, but there were many trailers and trucks. It really looked like a high-budget filming. Of course, I hanged out for a few minutes in front, trying to act all cool and stuff, hoping to get a role, but yeah, that didn't work out. But I was really surprised on the amount of people, equipment, trucks, everything that was present and needed to film. I certainly felt out of place with my puny little camera. But the castle itself was built for Howard Gould and his wife Viola Catherine Clemens, who was an actress. Now here's where everything gets interesting. She was not too pleased, supposedly, with this residence. I mean, who would? Look at it. Certainly a typical New Yorker living in a 1-bedroom apartment paying $2,000 a month would find these living quarters appalling as well. And so, Howard built a second mansion just a few feet away, the Hempstead house, which I will show you a little bit later on in this video. However, not long after, they divorced in 1909, and it was all sold to Daniel Guggenheim. To me, that is amazing, to spend so much time and money and not even enjoy this significant place, which, by the way, at its height, employed over 200 workers to maintain it. Now me, personally, last summer I spent 2 days building a flower pot, and when I did not properly seal it, well, because of sloppiness, it got damaged by water, and by the end of the summer I had to throw it out. That was devastating. So to have all of this just sold and not being enjoyed would be crushing, at least for me. But then again, I do not have millions of dollars in my bank account. But looking at older news articles, this divorce was highly publicized, and I was able to find many articles that talked about it for way more than a year. Howard Gould stated that not only was Catherine a drunk, but also had an affair with William Cody, aka Buffalo Bill, and Dustin Furnham. But it sounded like a messy marriage and divorce. Next to the castle you have some honeybees, but I will steer clear of this area because my father and brother are both allergic to bees, and I never tested myself, nor was I ever stung by one. But I am not going to test my luck on this trip. So first, let's take a walk on some trails. And if we go down this way, we pass over a small bridge where we have a pond to the left and the remains of the building to the right. If you take trail number 4 to the right, you can walk into the remains of the building itself. I was very curious what it used to be, and I even checked the website, but supposedly no one knows for sure. A little mystery surrounding it. But check out the cool looking greenish water. Currently, this area, especially the pond, is being restored and cleaned up after all these years. New grass and trees are planted, and once everything starts growing and covering the edges of the pond, this will really be an awesome place to take pictures or just take relaxing walks. I mean, it already is, but I already see it's gonna be far more beautiful. But let's continue going past this pond and onto the beach. I want to show you some cool things. Here we are on the edge of the estate looking at Long Island Sound, and there are concrete parts of what I'm guessing was a former seawall. But it's not just that, there are bricks and other interesting artifacts, like this here. I wonder if it's actually part of the estate at one point or another, or it was maybe just washed up here from some other location. But if it was, from where? These are the things I'm always curious about. Let's now walk on the beach because I want to show you something on the other side. But as I was walking on the beach, I was actually passing by this group of kids, what looked like maybe a summer camp or a field trip at the end of the school year. And the only reason I'm really mentioning this to you is because as I was passing them by, some of the kids were singing, "We are the champions." Now, if you are this small and yet you are singing and know the songs from the 70s by Queen, you got my seal of approval. Cool kids. They were taught well. And check out some of these seawalls that are still standing. That looks cool. In fact, at this point, I could not see the kids anymore as I passed them a long time ago, and I was by myself, and it just felt like I'm exploring like a beach of Normandy from World War II or something like that. It was just really a fun feeling. But look at the cliffs as well. This is a good spot to show you that from roughly this area of Long Island, Port Washington, is where sand was taken for most of the 20th century and used to build New York City. It was used in concrete for buildings and tunnels, sidewalks, and the whole city really. Hence, even though this is Long Island and not included in the 5 boroughs that make up New York City, nevertheless, I guess in a romantic way, we can say that Port Washington is very much so part of New York City. But as you see, sand mining was a rather dangerous job because if the sand cliffs collapsed, which happened, all this sand would bury you, not only being dangerous because of all that weight crushing on top of you, but also getting someone out in time was also quite challenging. You can also see some of these cliffs in my earliest video that I did about Comset State Park. But the truth is, there was a negative side effect to all of this, as it added to the environmental damage by taking all of this sand and leveling the shorelines. So now let's go back on the other side of the pond, past the castle, and let me show you the Hempstead house, the second mention. So this building is more modest than the castle, only 40 rooms, that's it. Here's the entryway, where carriages and cars would pull up to the building. But look at the details on this structure. It's pretty amazing. So like I said earlier, when Howard and Catherine divorced, Howard sold these buildings to Daniel Guggenheim, whose family made their wealth in the mining industry. Daniel passed away here in 1930, and his wife, Florence, moved to a smaller mansion nearby. She first opened this home to refugee children during World War II until foster homes were found for them permanently, and eventually the house was sold to the United States Navy in 1946, which housed what today is the Naval Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division, which operates from Florida. However, its beginnings were really roughly here, where various training devices were invented, such as helping pilots train in precision bombing or training the gunners on aircrafts. That is also why I mentioned that abandoned house next to the pond in the beginning of the video, that its origins are not clear, because it could have been built by the US Navy and not part of the original estate. In the 1970s, the place was transferred to Nassau County. So you see, the history of this place is really rich and fascinating. And in fact, doing this video, I really kind of got inspired to maybe do some more research on the history of this place when it was actually in the hands of the US Navy. So for a possible future article, we'll see. But I am adding this as item number 32 for a research project. That's right, I have a list at home of now 32 research projects I would love to do, but I just never have the time to do them. So lots of ideas, but just not enough time to actually do them. But here you are also looking at the gardens in the back of the home itself. Beautiful place, overlooking the Long Island Sound and the beach at the bottom. And for those of you who are interested in this place, this is not even the whole tour, as there is still more mansions here, like for example the Falaise, which could be seen in the tour, and few more interesting details. So I don't know, maybe I will revisit this place in the future, and who knows, do a video on some of the things I did not show you in this one. There's also lots to do for the kids. There's, for example, an awesome huge playground, an educational garden, as you see here. And past the educational garden, there is trail number 1, the Dino Tracks, where you get to come across these magnificent things. My inner child is beginning to call out in me. But you also can look for dinosaur tracks. So let's see, I found some here. Let me just get the leaves off, and boom! See? Fun stuff! Of course, every opportunity I got, I passed by the filming production, desperately trying to land a role next to maybe like George Clooney or something like that, but unfortunately no one stopped me. It's as if I blended into the background and went unnoticed. And finally, at the end, I just had to sit down here on this bench and just rest after a whole day of walking and hitting almost 30,000 steps. So, like always, I will see you soon in another location somewhere in New York. But until then, stay safe. Take care, everyone.